now to resume back to their duty post by tomorrow. So we don't know. Is the Kaduna state government going to rescind the decision it took yesterday that health workers from grade level 13 downward have been sacked? This is the latest in the series of sacks by the Kaduna state government. So I think by tomorrow, visiting these places will indicate if the nurses, the midwives, and other health workers that were sacked as at yesterday will resume back to their place of work.
AWWAL, let me come back to you, Dr. Sam AMADI. Now, you've seen what has happened. You've seen the outcome of it. 3 days of protests, 2 more days, but then they've suspended it. What's your thought?
Well, I think clearly the suspension is in good. Makes sense. De-escalation is the way to go now. The economic impact of the strike, even not just for Kaduna State, for the country, the fact that Kaduna is perhaps only 8% of insecurity, and this could. So it makes sense that federal government intervene. But again, going back to both the issues and of the methodology, one would expect that perhaps there should have been no escalation. The governors, maybe the way they handle the matter, some element of recklessness, the sacks, the issuance of arrest order on strike, leader of the striking labor movement that has constitutional right to strike, all those does not bode well for governance and all of that. So I think the notion that it can easily dispense with workers, by the way, in the US, we saw that with Thatcher, we saw it to Reagan, but now we have seen that new government in the US, they're bringing back labor rights. You see, part of the neoliberal reform that says, look, dispense with workers, their rights and so on, we discover that they have created more poverty globally and more inequality. And it's not a smart way to grow economy. So instead of shrinking, we should expand the economy, people back to work. This is post-pandemic. And the focus should be, or even this is pandemic, not even post, the focus should be getting people to work, expanding productivity, increase total productive factor, and create more jobs. So the notion that we could easily dispense with work staff, not retrain them or make them more efficient, is not good economics. And it's not good political science to shut down, to kind of dig in and kind of sablarata. So look, we're going to fight them. I think this de-escalation is the right way to go.
Okay, so now the question arises as to how do you guarantee the rights of Nigerians to protest, including workers? I mean, in the case of Kaduna, many of them were victimized and sacked because they took part in the protest.
I think maybe it's idiosyncratic. I mean, we've seen that Kaduna State has had problem with civil society leaders, bloggers. So you could put it to idiosyncrasies of a particular government and a particular state. But again, the rights are enshrined, the labor rights are clear. If you look at the state government want to charge them on miscellaneous offences act, an act about damaging property, but that is not really, that's cynical. Basically, it's a way of preempting their strike and a way of proving maybe a vengeful approach. And to be frank, that does not really sit in with democratic governance. You cannot use those tools of terror, if you like, to deal with civic engagement. People can argue, many people support the idea of workers being laid off. Some people can argue that some sense of utilitarianism, the public good, but I think it's perverse. But again, people can disagree, but using bare knuckle to force people out of democratic protest is really is reckless and irresponsible.
All right, let's wrap up with this then. In terms of what the governor is emphatic about, the government stated that 10 million people in Kaduna State, 100,000 or so civil servants, both at local and state government. So how can you have a situation where those people will now be deemed as that's the entire population of Kaduna State?
And the fact that the state government says those that were laid off actually don't qualify for the positions that they hold.
Well, the process. First, let's understand this. You see, we understand every state in Nigeria deals with overburdened civil service. It's a legacy of a failure to plan and expand employment opportunity in the private sector. So how do you deal with that? You're going to deal with that in a systematic way. Compassion. By the way, these are citizens who are going to be out of job. Have you made a plan for the training? Did you provide for other engagement? Did you even provide for stipends? So the problem is not just that, yes, it's overbloated, but how are you going to dispense with citizens who have no means of livelihood in a reckless, cavalier manner? Again, even if you have to do that, can't you sit down with labor and make a case for that? So I think it's both process is bad, the logic is bad, and the worst of all, using reckless style of manipulation to deal with it.
Dr. Sam AMADI, thank you so much for joining us and of course, AWWAL IBRAHIM, our correspondent there in Kaduna. Thank you very much.